Skills Live, the Rain City special. I'm here with my co-host Patrick, as well as Jeremy from Rain City Skills.
Hey.
Hello.
So we have a lot to talk about today. Rain City has had a ton of really interesting releases in the past, and they have a lot planned for this year's as well. So I'm super excited about that. Additionally, Jeremy's been working on some really interesting stuff outside of the yo-yo release market in regards to creating a yo-yo course curriculum, so we'll be talking about that later in the stream as well. I wanted to give a quick mention about our upcoming contest, Skills Open V6. We recently passed over 100 registrants, which is awesome. I'm super excited for the contest, and registration will be closing in a little bit under 3 weeks. It closes on February 9th, so if you're contemplating competing in the event, be sure to sign up relatively soon so you get to compete. Freestyles will also be due on that day, so be aware of that. And I will be putting the link to the contest site in the chat. I see we got Micah and Throws and Brews in the chat. Welcome. Thank you for tuning in.
Hey, welcome guys. Thanks for joining. Throws and Brews, you'd appreciate. I've actually got an Outer Range IPA on deck tonight, so we're doing it big for the Throws and Brews crowd. So.
Love to hear. Just want to make sure, is our audio good to go? Is everyone able to hear everything fine? Just want to make sure before I keep going. Awesome. I assume it's a yes because you replied to the comment, so hope you hear it. Sweet.
I'm assuming I'm coming through.
Go ahead. Sorry.
I said I'm assuming I'm coming through fine.
Yeah, I think you're all good too.
Cool.
So let's get started with the recent restocks. Jeremy had mentioned that Rain City restocked a few products last month, so we're going to go through each of those and talk about them. First off, we have the duck. I believe this is a duck version 2, if I'm not mistaken.
No, it's the.
Oh, it's the original. Okay, awesome.
Yeah.
So I have that on the stream now, a little graphic made by Rain City, pretty sweet. So do you want to talk about this release a bit?
The duck has been kind of one of our, flagship yo-yos for a couple of years now. It was originally a community design on the Facebook BST group. People voted on all the different design aspects and then picked the name because at that time there had been this whole thing. Anytime anybody posted a poll about anything on the BST, somebody would go in and add duck as one of the possible answers, and it would usually win. So it makes sense. And I think we've done. It also was this weird little. I decided that because it was a community design, when we did the prototype, I let everybody who voted have the choice of pre-ordering a prototype. So we ended up making a run of 100 prototypes.
Oh wow, that's awesome.
And they were terrible. Like the thumb grind ring was so sharp that it would cut your nail. But we since fixed those problems, and it's a solid playing little yo-yo. So yeah, it's like fourth restock or fourth edition kind of thing.
That's sweet. I love these colorway names too. Very clever and on brand. Love to see it.
Just a quick question. I'm just curious. Like, did you run into like any like specific challenges or like things that were like kind of fun and interesting about having a community design? That sounds like just like a super crazy process. So I'm sort of curious about any interesting things that you ran into.
It was a lot of work. Hold on a second. My dog got in and is scratching at my.
Oh. He'll be back in just a minute, folks.
Sorry. Design, it was just a lot of work because what had happened was each dad put out a poll. I think we left it up for 24 hours, and then Justin would have to take the results of the poll and incorporate them into some choices for the next day's poll and create designs. At least I think it was. No, it wasn't Justin. I don't actually remember who was doing that. Anyhow, so it was a lot of work. It ended up being an entire chapter in my How to Run a Boutique Yo-Yo Business book, just because it was a perfect case study of how to design a yo-yo.
Wow. So like super iterative, like really, that's really interesting process. Yeah, it's really cool.
I think it was 12 steps. 12, yeah. like that.
Was there anything that you didn't expect in the final yo-yo design?
Well, the first prototype, yeah, it was actually the yo-yo with the most problems, which was weird. There was the thumb grind ring I mentioned, and the pad recess wasn't deep enough, so the pad stuck out a bit, and just a lot of little tiny tweaks that were easy enough to fix for the production run.
Cool.
Yeah.
Cool. Sounds like a super interesting process. Thanks for answering my questions.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. That's so cool. Let's move on to the next restock. We've got the show pony. You want to give us some context about this release, Jeremy?
Yeah, that one was early in the Rain City. I think we originally, so it was originally the Showgirl, and it was Troy Butner had made this prototype. He just wanted to make his own yo-yo and got kind of a few people to chip in for prototypes to help fund it. And he just wanted one of the yo-yo that he designed. And I loved it and offered to partner with him to do a run and release it. And we did that. But the name wasn't ideal. Yo-Yo Expert wasn't going to take it because it was a little too adult. So we made it a bit bigger, lighter, and called it the Show Pony, which is kind of the gender-neutral version of the term showgirl. It's anyone is up on stage being big and spectacular. So it kind of was broader and more inclusive in name. And the yo-yo itself is kind of our take on the classic organic shape, or rather the more modern organic shape. So it's kind of it's got some solid performance to it, but that nice, comfortable curve.
That's awesome. I love the story about like changing the name and stuff and making it more acceptable. I'm glad that you were able to figure out something that was like good for everyone and also release a solid product. So I'm happy to hear that.
Yeah.
I see Dylan mentioning in chat that he can't hear me. Is that still the case, or was I just not talking for a while? Because I wasn't really saying much for a bit, but things should be fine. Just want to wait on confirmation for that before I keep going.
Yeah, hopefully you can still. Yeah, this yo-yo looks really cool. I like have been super digging organic yo-yos lately, so this one looks really sweet. I like the rim looks like kind of thin, which I'm kind of a fan of that design element. I think it looks pretty sweet. So
yeah, it's interesting. It's got kind of a little bump just inside of the rim, so not like the weight isn't right at the rim. It's a little ways inside, which gives it a feel.
Cool. That's awesome. Yeah, and the colors are super sweet too. So this is definitely a really cool yo-yo for sure. Yeah, and the art is obviously really awesome. So love to see that.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's keep it moving. Next up, we've got a restock of the gourd. So let's talk about this one. This is a bit different than the past products that we talked about.
Yeah, that one's actually not a restock. That's a new release.
Oh, awesome.
Sorry. That was my mistake in the notes. It's our first dedicated set of Beglieri in a couple of years. In the early days of Rain City Skills, I got mad into Beglieri, and we did a whole bunch of designs. And that dropped off because I wanted to focus more on yo-yos and build that up. But we're kind of at the point now where I can start that up again. So these ones were actually one that was, I believe it's one of the Beglieri Discord groups that Justin Scott Larson does a lot of our design work, and he's kind of the Beglieri guy on the team. And so there were people looking for a design like this. And so yeah, we threw it out there. It's a nice little tiny, light, nimble design, great for quick between finger tricks. Yeah, anybody listening who doesn't know what Beglieri is, watch some videos. It's kind of akin to pen spinning, or that knife that you flip kind of thing. What are those called? Bally song.
Yeah.
Similar fidget toy to that.
Yeah, my brother actually just recently got into ballet songs, so maybe I'll recommend him these. He's like one of those people who like always has to be doing something with his hands to like stay focused and stuff. So like these things are like super awesome because they're really small, so it's like perfect for that purpose.
Yeah, I carry a set of our first Beglieri with me everywhere. It's the fidget slinger. It's I designed one that was a fidget spinner as well as Beglieri. It's got bearings in it. So it's kind of multiple parts to take apart, put together. So while I'm sitting here talking, I've got them in my hand, fiddling with them.
Yeah, perfect. They're like perfect for that use for sure. So yeah, you guys should check these out if you like yo-yoing just because like you like doing stuff with your hands. He's a good option for day-to-day use.
What I tell people is they're great for the places where you don't have enough room to yo-yo.
Yeah, for sure. That's actually a great call.
Standing in the line at the grocery store, you don't want to whack people, so you can flick your big Leary around.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
Sweet.
that's a great point, and I just want to say welcome to our new guests in the chat. I see we've got Aiden, Musa. Love to see it. Thank you for tuning in. Yeah, these are super cool, and love to see that you're returning to making more Big Larry because I think they're very interesting. Let's move on. We've got the Gamer. Let's talk about this one. It's Sea-Bearing Lightweight Edition.
Yeah, so the Gamer is our other kind of. We keep coming back to it. The original story on that one was hilarious. Free Hinton, owns Eternal Throw out of Seattle, had come up here for Canadian Nationals and stayed with me, and we were talking. And both of us do a lot of demonstrating, teaching. He works for the charity Bikers Against Child Abuse that work with kids, and we both wanted a yo-yo that was going to be good for kids, good for beginners, reasonably affordable, which means large volumes. So the first run of the Gamer, I think I made 600 of them so that I could sell them cheaper. And it was funny because I went to Justin and said, here's what I want. I want this classic old school kind of Cold Fusion silver bullet design, slim bearing, responsive. And Justin came back 5 minutes later with a completed ready to machine design, which is insanely fast, but it's because he'd had that design on the go for a couple of years. It was the yo-yo he always wanted to make. So it was just perfect. And I made 400 solid color that were going to be the ones that Free and I just kind of used with kids, and then 100 flash for retail release. And we just hit the perfect timing of Slimline making a big comeback. And I think I did 2 more runs of the original design. We did a Delrin design that was lighter, but people keep coming back to it needs to be even lighter. And so this one's just over 60 grams. We didn't change much visually for this release. Like, it looks like the originals, but it's lighter. And we kind of did a few throwback colorways to the earlier runs, popular editions like the Zelda colorway and Space Invaders, and did a couple new ones, I think Kirby and one for Halo and one for Portals. The colorways I tend to, when I do a run of the Gamer, hit up various groups and go, hey, what games would people like to see represented? So it's fun for that.
Yeah,
that's awesome, and a really clever way to promote things. Go ahead, Patrick.
Oh, I would also say that good. It seems like a pretty good yo-yo for like backpacking as well, because it's lightweight, slimline, like pretty minimal setup. So if you're into outdoors stuff, this one might be the one for you.
Yeah, and we it comes with a slim bearing and a full C bearing, so you can play it unresponsive.
Cool.
Here, I'll give you guys a first time I've talked about this publicly. We're doing a retro Gamer. We partnered with John Gates, and he's making us a wooden version of the Gamer, fixed axle.
Sick.
Oh, that's awesome.
That's awesome.
I'm excited about
that.
Yeah,
John's wood yo-yos are like really, really good. He like makes all of them by hand. I know this because like I've known John for like years now. He's based out of Denver, so he's super sick.
He's been in the community forever. I quoted him in my book, The People of Yo-Yo. He kind of is the reason we have Offspring Yo-Yo. He's the one that figured out how to get it back to the hand.
Yeah, he's a legend in the yo-yo community that unfortunately not that many people know about. But yeah, he's awesome. So super stoked to hear that you're collaborating with him.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is awesome. I'm looking forward to see more of that. Let's keep it moving. Next up, we've got the Skater in a wide array of colors here. So let's talk about this one.
Sick.
That one started a few years back. It was funny. After I made our first yo-yo, the Hipster High Life, I loved the naming convention was going to be the thing for Rain City Skills. And in my head, I had, wouldn't it be cool to have one that was the Skater and like a skateboard wheel? And then talked to Coffin from Oh Yes Yo and ended up partnering with him because he's like super skater. And so we've done, I think this is our 4th run of this yo-yo. We did a small bearing edition. So it's Delrin, and like I said, shaped like a skateboard wheel. and the colors are dyed. So the yo-yos are dyed with fabric dye. Jeff Anderson, who I think on Instagram he's Gravyoyo, Gravyoyo. He's fantastic. He's been kind of pioneering techniques for masking and doing really cool designs. My favorite is he can make there's one that looks like wood grain, like it looks like a wooden yo-yo.
Sick.
So it's cool. So yeah, that's fun. It's primarily an unresponsive yo-yo, although you pack some lube in there, you've got responsive, and we like our unique, interesting, different designs, and it definitely fits that. And I mean, I think the Skater's got our most complicated unboxing package. The first few runs came with a fingerboard. I think this one we had a keychain skateboard, and then a minifigure, like a Lego style minifigure on a skateboard, and stickers and pogs, and it comes shrink wrapped like a skateboard wheel.
Sick.
Yeah.
I love this yo-yo. Every time I've played one of these, I'm like, I gotta pick one up eventually. So
I was gonna say the same thing. I'm a big fan of this yo-yo, and it's just like great shape. I love Delrin yo-yos in general, and it's a cool concept. So happy to have another run.
For sure.
Awesome. Let's move on. We got another plastic model. This one being the rebrand. Let's talk about this one.
So that one, I kept getting people asking me for when Rain City was going to release a beginner budget plastic yo-yo, and the problem is 10 grand. You got to buy a mold, and you got to be able to sell 2,000 pieces to break even, because that's just how injection molding works. Which we're not there yet. So I did what many others have done in the past, which is I licensed somebody else's design. I've been using the Magic Yo-Yo 1/3 with my students in schools for years now. It's a great, just basic beginner plastic. So I decided to get them to make me a batch in Rain City Blue. And because I didn't want any possible confusion about this being somebody else's design, we named it the Rebrand, and the logo on it is the original Magic Yo-Yo logo, and we made it look like we stamped the word rebrand on it. So it's just a fun little tongue-in-cheek. We've got a beginner yo-yo now, and our little bit of flair to it is we've got, I think I made 14 different caps for it. Took each of our sponsored players, and my wife photoshopped them to make them look like comic cartoon drawings. So each one comes with a half dozen different pogs you can snap in there to customize it, or flip them over, use the back, and draw your own.
Sick.
Yeah, that's awesome, and I love how you added, just like I was gonna say earlier, the swirl Mike is mentioning. I think that's an awesome touch, and overall, just the idea of marketing it as a rebrand is a good way to go about it. That's super sweet.
Yeah, the swirl ones again. That's Jeff Anderson dyed them for us.
Oh, perfect. Yeah, that's
and
great.
It was funny because I sent him a half dozen. Like, you usually only work with white plastic. Can you work with blue? And he experimented, and yeah, as long as the dye was dark enough.
That's awesome. Let's keep moving. Next up, we've got the Author, which I believe will be coming to stores soon, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, those are in the finishing process. We're just trying to get the engravings for the next batch. So this is, I think, our 4th run of this yo-yo. This is the second edition, which had some minor tweaks. This is basically my signature yo-yo. I've got a bad shoulder from car accident, and so I need a light yo-yo that still is stable. And Justin worked his magic, and we've got a 56-gram yo-yo that plays like at 66 grams.
Mm.
So it's really easy. Like, you throw it, you don't have that pull when it hits the end of the string that you get with a lot of yo-yos, which gives me more throws before I have to stop.
That's awesome.
Because I'm an author, it's the author, so each colorway goes with a different genre of book.
Oh, wow. Super neat.
Yeah.
What's your favorite colorway, and what does it correlate to?
Science fiction. It's
okay, this one. Perfect.
Yeah. And that's what I read, and I'm currently in the process of writing a science fiction novel, and I've been promising people I'm going to make a bimetal version of the author to celebrate when I get this book done.
Nice.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that. That's awesome. Sweet.
Yeah.
Nice.
Let's keep it moving. Next up, we have a few micro yo-yos to talk about. So I have them up on the screen here. They should show up in a few seconds. What are these all about?
Whoa.
So there's 3 in the picture. I'm not seeing it on the live stream, so I'm just gonna.
It should be just a second. Yeah, sorry about that.
Oh, good. There's 3 of them. There's a small silver one that's our next release. That was actually the original prototype. So let me backtrack here. The middle of the 3 sizes is a brass one that we call the Loonie, which is a Canadian $1 coin, and it's roughly the size of a Canadian $1 coin. And we released that a while back. It's an A bearing. The idea was to make a micro yo-yo that you could play, that you could solidly do your tricks on, that wasn't too small, that wasn't novelty small, but still tiny. And I think we nailed that. And then, so we did a first run of that and just sold them direct. And then Andre at Yo-Yo Expert told me he really, really wanted some. So I thought for fun, we'd account for the exchange rate on our currency, and it's about 30%. So it's $1.30 to buy Canadian to buy an American dollar. So we made the American edition 30% wider to account for that, so we could buy American dollars with it.
Nice.
So
I love that.
And since we made those, it's been almost 2 years now. Everybody asks me all the time when there's going to be more. So there's more coming. And then the little one was actually the original prototype for the Loonie. We did the first prototype in brass, and it's roughly the same dimensions as that tiny one, and it played terribly. And then Justin had given me a stainless steel design as well in the same shape that I never prototyped. So I threw that one at one of the shops to do a prototype. And it was funny because they messed up and they put a D bearing in it instead of the A bearing, which fixed whatever wasn't working with the original prototype. So now it plays almost as well as the Loonie, but is 3/4 the size. And we're calling it the 2 bits, which is an old term for a quarter, 25 cents. The whole shaving a haircut, 2 bits, the knocking pattern. Well, that's 2 bits. So
sweet.
That's awesome.
Waiting on the packaging.
That's awesome. Yeah.
Great.
So I think like these yo-yos are like part of the reason why I think like Green City is like really cool as a brand is because like you guys are trying just like random things with the yo-yo and making like these crazy designs that you're like, yeah, honestly, we don't know like if it's gonna work out or play amazing or like not play great at all, but like we're gonna try it and like see what we can do, and then like you iterate on like whatever design you have and actually get to something that's like really unique and interesting. And I think that like not very many brands are doing that, so I think it's cool to see for sure. So
well, and the reason we can do it is we've got enough of a fan base that likes the weird, wild, and wacky that will buy it.
Yeah.
I'm very grateful that we have the privilege of getting to do whatever we want, basically.
Yeah, that's super sweet. Super, super sweet.
Absolutely. I see we have Jacob in the chat. Shout out to Jacob, member of Team Rain City. I believe he'll be competing in the upcoming skills contest as well. So looking forward to that.
Hey.
Let's keep it up, or let's keep it moving. Sorry. Next up, we've got the Punk. Should be appearing on the screen in a few seconds here.
Ah, yes.
Cool.
So the Punk, since Jeff Anderson's been doing so much dye work for us, I told him that he deserved his own signature yo-yo. So we partnered with him, and I let him come up with kind of the design and concept for it. And yeah, it's kind of punk band, punk yo-yo. It's going to be Delrin. The idea was to have a serious competitive plastic, because we don't have one of those yet. And it kind of balances out all the weird, wild, and wacky. It's still got a pretty unique shape, and he really wanted the Matador spikes. So we worked that into the hub. So, if you want to get your finger spin and pierce your finger, you're good to go. And just for fun, I told Justin I wanted a really evil counterweight. And so we've got this spiked ball that will come packaged with the Punk. It's exclusively going to be with the Punk. You won't be able to get it any other way. And it's going to be packaged with a very clear instruction that this is for display use only, not to play with, because, it's got spikes on it. It's funny. The prototype of the spiked counterweight was too spiky. It bled. So we rounded them off a bit, and it's not quite as deadly. But it was fun. I decided the only way to do this was 3D printing, and I poked around, found a shop in China that does really good polished, finished work. That's not the kind of grainy 3D printing you get on home printers. So they came out really nice.
That's
Sweet.
awesome. This year looks super cool. I'm looking forward to the release, and I'm glad you mentioned the counterweights too, because that's what I was going to mention next. We have a few counterweights to go over here, so I'm going to pull up the pictures you sent me. I believe these are the 3 new models that Rain City will be releasing, as well as a weight set, which is pictured at the bottom here. So let's talk about these for a bit, maybe.
All right, I don't actually have the picture up, so I'm going to remind myself what I sent you.
All good. Should be a few
One
seconds.
of them is going to be recognizable. It's basically a 20-sided die because fun, why not? Again, that one's 3D printed, same shop, and again, they came out great. Those ones we are close to being able to release. What's fun is a lot of the stuff that we're releasing, all those restocks and things, I ordered last January. We got all of them in like April, but because we spent last year moving inventory to Ohio, which is a whole different discussion, we got really behind in releasing things. So we've got all this stuff that we've been sitting on. One of the things we've been doing as well is getting some actual packaging that for, proper retail packaging for getting into stores. But we just got new packaging for the counterweights. And so we've got this D20 that's just a solid 20-sided die counterweight. There's going to be solid colors that are painted, but it's a really durable paint. And then we got some that are dyed that are coming later. What else have we got in there? We're restocking the Raindrop and the Donuts counterweights, which are already out. And the other one that's coming soon that's going to be a fun one. It's just kind of your basic round counterweight, but it's got a recess for our bearing system. And we're going to be, Jeff's working on dyeing them. The idea with this one is we're going to do each run we do is going to have a different big kind of theme rather than the counterweight itself being themed. So the first batch is going to be Timbits, donut holes. So Jeff's dyeing them to be different colors of donuts. And then, maybe next round we do planets or something. So that's a fun little design. And yeah, it'll come with the bearing and end cap, to keep your string tension neutral. And we're also going to be releasing sets of 3 different end caps that snap into the bearings that are different weights. So you can really tweak the weight of your counterweight.
Yeah, that's sweet. I really, really like that aspect of it where you can like modify the weight depending on like your play style and like kind of what you're going for. I also really like the D20. I play like a ton of Dungeons and Dragons, so it's cool to finally see that come out in a counterweight.
Yeah, we did a D20 set of Beglieri a few years ago at a brass.
Oh, sweet! That's awesome.
Expensive to make though if you're machining them, right? Because it's so again, 3D printing is the only way to make it feasible.
Yeah, sweet. Yeah, 3D printed definitely makes sense for those. These are super sweet. I definitely, like I said, I really like the adjustable weight. That's definitely something that's kind of innovative for the like 5A counterweights for sure. So that way you can really fine tune like what you like. It's really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love seeing brands innovate on counterweight designs as well as additional things like Patrick's mentioning with weight and stuff. It's super awesome, and hopefully it'll aid the resurgence of 5A. So I'm looking forward to
Sure.
this.
Sure.
Last product we have to talk about here is the Rain City puzzle. It's the Rain City Skills Yo-Yo Collection puzzle. So let's talk about that for a bit.
Last year in school, I started bringing jigsaw puzzles into my classroom. I was teaching grade 1-2, and the kids went nuts making these elaborate 500-piece jigsaw puzzles. And I decided nobody's really made a yo-yo jigsaw puzzle. So I took every Rain City yo-yo we released in a bunch of different colors, dumped them in a bin, and took about 300 photos until I got one that was just right with everything at good angles and a mix of colors. And yeah, found a shop that could make me some jigsaw puzzles. So they're 500-piece puzzles. It's about 3 feet by 2 feet when it's finished. And it's kind of a middle range of difficulty. There's some tricky bits, but for the most part, it's a nice little thing to do in the evenings that gets you off your screen. These are available at Yo-Yo Sam, Rain City Skills, and I've got them tiptoeing my way into Amazon, fulfilled by Amazon stuff. So you can get them through Amazon Prime now, Canada and the United States.
Cool. Yeah, I mean, first yo-yo puzzle I think I've ever seen, so that's super sweet. Yeah, really cool to see. I feel like the yo-yo puzzle is actually like kind of challenging too. Like it seems like kind of not the easiest puzzle in the world.
Yeah, it's funny. If I was to make another one, having now done it, I'd do a few things differently. I've got too many similar greens and blues.
Interesting.
It's not too bad, but it's just enough of that. Okay, well, I'd change a couple of things in the formatting of the photo, but yeah, it's great.
Sweet. Yeah. I think we had one of these at the scales contest back in Northampton, and yeah, I was super. I thought it was like really cool that there was a yo-yo puzzle because like I said, I had never seen it before, so that's really sweet. So yeah, cool setup for sure.
Yeah, I love non-yo-yo products, so I want to see more of them. I think the puzzle is really, really cool.
For sure.
Yeah, so those are all of the upcoming and recent Rain City products that'll be released. The last thing that I wanted to talk about is something very special that Jeremy's working on. I'm going to be sending a link to the chat here. Pretty much, Jeremy is working on a yo-yo curriculum, and the way he was explaining the approach to me was super interesting, almost treating it like chess in some aspects. So, Jeremy, you want to maybe elaborate on what this is all about and perhaps talk more about things?
For sure. So my latest instance of my students getting me into something, that's how I started yo-yoing. My class got into yo-yos and I followed suit. Well, last year I had a couple of kids get seriously into chess. And like everybody, I'd played it as a kid. I knew how to move the pieces, but had no real concept of how to play the game. And so I bought an online course so I could keep up with my students. And quickly kind of drew some parallels to yo-yo. Chess, you basically have 3 parts of the game. You've got your opening, your middle game, and your end game. And it's 3 different kind of ways to think about it. But you start with your opening, which is a certain setup that you then have different options from those positions based on what happens. And yo-yo functions a lot like that. We've got all our different starting mounts that kind of direct how a combo can go. And so what I wanted to do was to start with make just a basic beginner course that's more about teaching the thinking of yo-yo and the little tiny details that people miss. More about that than about just here's a list of tricks to learn. So it'll be kind of, here are the concepts of the trapeze and a bunch of things you can do from here. Here's picture tricks that you can do with a dead yo-yo while you learn to throw hard enough to do harder tricks. That sort of thing. And then from there, move into an intermediate course that lays out different types of elements, the different mounts, kind of gives you all the vocabulary of yo-yo, and builds you from there. And I'm also planning to incorporate kind of a lecture series that's more me talking about the things behind yo-yo that people can then refer back to as they work through the courses. And once I've done the kind of the beginner and intermediate, what I'm going to do is, here's the wrist mount. You've got your elements. Here's from the wrist mount as many different directions as I can think of for you to go and what you can do from there using your kind of your pops and your slack and all your different elements to, master these elements to learn different combos, but also then to kind of jumpstart you into building your own. And then I'll support that with a whole bunch of different level tutorials of classic tricks and my tricks from that mount. So somebody who's kind of working their way through and is an intermediate player and has learned the wrist mount and goes, I want more tricks from this, can go, all right, that's it. I'm going to dive deep into that. And the idea will be I'll have the beginner course just open free for the world to dive in with, to get more people into yo-yo, and then from there it'll be paid courses. I haven't quite figured out the format yet. Might be a Patreon sort of thing, might be I build a website that, for $10 you can buy the intermediate course sort of thing.
Cool. Yeah, I think that this is like a super sweet concept. I was actually honestly surprised that something like this doesn't really exist yet. Because this is it's such a good idea. And we were talking a little bit about this beforehand, but I think it's really awesome that you kind of came up with ways to keep new people engaged while they're still learning those crucial skills. It's a great idea to have a whole set of picture tricks that you can learn while you don't really know how to throw. Because you definitely have to try and keep people engaged, because what keeps people coming back to hobbies is they keep coming back and they stay engaged with it, and they keep wanting to do it. And I think that's definitely a great concept that hopefully a lot of people will learn from. So that's really awesome to see.
Yeah.
Well, I've spent time teaching year-olds yo-yo that you can't. They're not going to learn how to throw right away, but you want to feel good about. And the excitement when a kid walks up to somebody else having done their first Jamaican flag.
True.
Even though the yo-yo spinning, that doesn't matter.
Yeah, it's amazing, and it's super cool. So I really like this concept.
Yeah, to add on to Patrick's point, I think it's great that you're figuring out a way to teach yo-yoing in a way that isn't just here's this list of tricks, learn them, because I definitely think that format is getting kind of stale, and this will lead to people probably learning more comprehensively and also maybe being more creative. So I'm really looking forward to see what pans out from this.
For sure.
So the link that you post in there, and it's in my blog on mryoyothrower.com. I'd love feedback from anybody that wants to have a look through my proposed curriculum. I made a blog post that's got kind of where my thinking's at right now. Things that I missed, elements that I didn't think of, bits and pieces. I've already had some great feedback from some people and made some big changes. So anything you want to share, there's a form on there that you can click. Give me your thoughts.
Yeah, definitely check it out. And like Jeremy said, feel free to give feedback. He's definitely open to it, like he said. So it's a super awesome thing that he's doing. So feel free to check it out, and give whatever feedback you have.
Absolutely, it's such a great idea, and it definitely will be much better if we can get more feedback for it. So I'm looking forward to see what people have to think about it, and looking forward to see what comes from this whole thing.
Oh, I'm going to throw one more thing in before we wrap up. Kind of related, because my goal is to get the beginner one ready before summer, because my wife and I are finally doing our cross Canada road trip, with the goal of filming kind of a little documentary about yo-yo in Canada. So anybody who's watching this video that's in Canada, get a hold of me, because we might be able to stop by and visit you.
Sweet.
You heard him.
Yeah. So Canada, pull up.
That's awesome. Well, that's about all we have planned for the Rain City special. Thank you to everyone for tuning in and chatting with us. We really appreciate it, as well as thank you so much to Jeremy and Rain City for supporting Scales. They've been a supporter for us for a few years now, and we really appreciate their consistent support. Looking forward to see what comes from Rain City for this year, both yo-yo releases and non-yo-yo releases. Things are looking pretty special and awesome, and I'm looking forward to it. Thank you, Jeremy.
Well, I love what you guys are doing. You've changed the way yo-yo contests happen, and I love it. Keep up the great work.
Thank you so much. All right, everyone. Thanks for tuning in. Peace out. Enjoy your evenings. Good night. Bye.
Yeah, have a great evening.